Maybe, Dr. Koma, I think you would have heard the same question. What are your thoughts on that election manifesto from Musiwa Likota?
Yes, Hugo, thank you for the opportunity. So, honestly, I've examined manifestos of the various parties that have registered for the 2024 national elections, and this is one manifesto I find not to be inspiring. I find it difficult to find a differentiator in the issues or priorities that they've put forward for the electorate to take into account. Relative to the other parties, for example, if you take the IFP, the differentiator in their manifesto, which also is part of the public opinion, is around the call for the return of the death penalty. You take the DA, the ANC, Build One South Africa, the differentiator is around jobs, but the difference is on the target. One party intends to create or promises to create 2 million jobs, the other one 2.5 million jobs. So with the COPE manifesto, the specifics are missing. It was presented in a more generalized manner. The issues, for example, infrastructure, education, crime prevention, one cannot find the mechanisms, the how part of it, how COPE intends to ensure that these priorities will be implemented, either in the short term, medium term, or in the long term.
Is Musiwa Likota a liability to the COPE party?
Yes, in electoral terms, because we know that COPE in the previous 2 successive national elections, it has faced massive electoral decline compared to when it was formed in 2009, where it registered a marginal electoral growth, which gave them about 36 parliamentary seats. But we know that with the 2019 national elections outcomes, COPE for the first time is sitting at 2 parliamentary seats. So one can associate the electoral decline of the party with the leader of the party, in this instance, Mr. Likota. But also remember, it's a party that recently has faced internal ructions, conflict, and also there have been expulsions of some members of COPE. And also we know that the leader of the South African Rainbow Alliance, that is Ms. Colleen Makubela, is drawn from COPE. She's now leading a breakaway party, and I think that party is likely to tap into the support base of COPE. But of course, the jury's still out. We'll have to see how the 2024 national elections, in terms of the results, how COPE will perform. But I think they are faced with a serious challenge in terms of attracting, but also maintaining and retaining their voter support base to be able to secure 1 or 2 parliamentary seats come the 2019 national elections results.
Dr. Koma, you've spoken about the number of election manifestos from the various political parties across the length and breadth of South Africa that you've listened to, stuff you've read and obviously researched on. Now, I'd imagine that when a political party is coming up with an election manifesto, that they pull their resources together, or they bring in some of those sharp minds in the party to craft a message that will resonate with the people. Now, judging from this election manifesto for COPE, do you feel that there was a process, due diligence was done in coming up with a message that would resonate with the people of South Africa?
Hugo, definitely not. I think in part it could be due to limited party resources compared to other parties that have set up internal research teams. So, for example, the EFF has a research team led by, I would say, capable researchers who are able to go into the field and also gather or generate information and data that the party can use in terms of writing up and also presenting their election manifesto. The same with the DA. Look at Rice Mzansi. You can see that the machinery is well oiled in terms of how they've so far managed to sell a clear election message to the electorate in terms of the issues that they've prioritized as part of their manifesto. Build One South Africa, the same. They've also, so far, I think, done very well in terms of coming up with a manifesto that they were able to present to the electorate. But in the case of COPE, I think the issue of inadequate internal resources and also expertise to some extent has affected the presentation of their manifesto.
All right, I'd like us to focus a little bit on the potential consequences of politicians using violent threats as a tool in the political discourse. I mean, we've witnessed some of that in the last few weeks, and one of those individuals, Viswan Reddy, is before the courts of law at the moment.
Yes, Hugo. In fact, just to give a context to this issue, so we know that in the African continent, we are grappling with the issue of pre-election violence and post-election violence. And if you refer to countries like Zimbabwe, that has happened before, and Kenya, among others. So we cannot afford to have members of political parties hell-bent to incite sedition, violence, and anarchy in the run-up to these elections. So it is good that on Thursday, all leaders of registered political parties were able to pledge and commit themselves to abide by the electoral code of conduct that is sanctioned in terms of the Electoral Act. And it is up to these leaders and these parties to walk the talk. But we know that the Electoral Code of Conduct does prohibit conduct that involves the use of language that may provoke violence. And the Electoral Court is empowered to impose a penalty or a sanction against any political party or candidates registered for elections in the event there is glaring contravention of the Electoral Code of Conduct. It may impose a fine of up to 200,000 rands against such party or candidates. It may also order the cancelling of registration of a political party. So we hope that our courts, including the Electoral Court, will proceed to exercise their mandate without fear, favor, or prejudice in the manner in which they handle the adjudication of electoral disputes that are brought before the courts.
Now, to wrap this conversation up very quickly, Dr. Koma, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula yesterday, or if not the day before, alleged that a high-ranking ANC official is responsible for her downfall. Now, what does that do for the ANC ahead of this election? Does it scupper their chances in any way?
No, I think it will depend on how they handle this matter. And I'm glad that I think yesterday they announced that they've referred this matter of Mapisa-Nqakula and that of the Chief Whip, Ms. Majodina, to the Integrity Commission, because now this is what Mapisa-Nqakula is alleging, that the person behind this particular case is a high-ranking member of the ANC. So it remains an unfounded allegation, and the only forum that can deal with this particular allegation in a fair and proper manner is the court. Of course, she's supposed to appear before the court on the 4th of June this year. We'll see how this particular allegation is also handled on the part of the National Prosecuting Authority and also the court. But I think internally the ANC has to run with this process with a view to come up with a finding around this particular allegation, a serious allegation that has been made by the former Speaker of the National Assembly.
Dr. Koma, that's where we'll leave it. Sam Koma, governance expert, unpacking for us Mosiuele Kota's election manifesto for COPE and a number of other political issues.